Well, Mr. Chairman, I appreciate you regardless. Thank you so much to our witnesses for being here today. As we approach the one-year anniversary of October 7th, I reiterate my call for an immediate and lasting ceasefire, one that releases the remaining hostages and surges humanitarian aid into Gaza. I also reaffirm my support for a long-term plan, one that ensures a lasting, peaceful two-state solution and provides self-determination for both Israelis and Palestinians. An immediate ceasefire and comprehensive day-after plan are essential for containing the conflict and countering the threat of Iran and its proxies. Even before October 7th, though, it is clear that Iran has been a destabilizing force in the region, threatening our national security interests and preventing a lasting peace from taking hold. For decades, support for regional proxies has been central to Iranian foreign policy. It has funded armed groups and terrorist organizations, including Hamas in Gaza, Hezbollah in Lebanon, the Houthis in Yemen, and militias in Iraq and Syria. Iran has reveled in chaos as it seeks to expand influence by carrying out attacks on Israel and United States personnel in the region. The United States considers Iran the foremost state sponsor of terrorism for good reason. After October 7th, we've seen increased activity from Iranian proxies in the region. We need to understand the kind of support that Tehran is providing to prevent future attacks. So I'll start with Mr. Lord, but I certainly welcome other feedback on my query here. How is the United States tracking the support Iran is providing their proxies? And let's project a little bit, but what should we be expecting in the support of proxies as we move along and they continue their campaign of chaos?
Mr. Amo, thank you for the question. We have a pretty capable means of tracking, and there's a pretty good doctrine and history to follow here, where Iran has sought to move sophisticated weapons to these partners, and then over time actually move the capability to create those sophisticated weapons in those partners' own territories. And we've seen that with Hezbollah, who really is the most developed proxy and partner of Iran, certainly the oldest, where it began as the shipment of weapons and capabilities, and then really began to morph into the shipment of the industrial means to build those capabilities in Lebanon's, in Hezbollah's own home turf. So those are the things that we have seen Israel over time really attempt to target most in their campaign between the wars, their meharechet ben hamilchamot, as they call it, mabam, when we get news reports of something blowing up in Syria or in Lebanon or at IRGC Quds Force individual and some others. They're going after the capability that allows Hezbollah to continue to perpetuate conflict. So we have to think very carefully about how we do that ourselves or how we support that with lethal intelligence with our partners. If in fact we ourselves want to engage in that, and I've heard a lot of tough talk here about what we should be doing on Iran, and I think I've said it last year on a Syria hearing. I will say it again. If you are interested in a war with Iran, if you are interested in getting kinetically involved, congratulations, you serve on the one committee in this House that has jurisdiction over war powers. And so if there is to be an authorization of the use of military force, it's going to get marked up here. So if that is something that you believe the president should be doing, it really starts with you here on this committee. So I've talked enough, but I'll leave it at that.
Great, thank you. And I know I've got limited time, but I do briefly want to speak to the concerns that I expressed in April about the growing ties between Iran and Russia and whether they would continue to share advanced technologies. And we've heard from Secretary Blinken in the past week that, and the Department of Defense, the confirmation that Iran is sending ballistic weapons to Russia to support their illegal invasion of Ukraine. Trade is a two-way street, raising some real concerns that Russia is sharing advanced and even possibly nuclear technology or information with Iran. And so, briefly, Mr. Lord, can you share any concerns that you might have about that transfer of nuclear technology or information between Russia and Iran, and what more can we do to counter this growing relationship?
We are short on time, so I'll be very quick. The stockpiling of uranium is a problem, but the technological deficit that Iran has to actually weaponize is the X mark beyond building the stockpile. That is a gap that Russia could choose to close instantaneously if they felt they needed to, if they needed more arms and support, if Iran wanted to extract something from them. We need to think exactly about this problem and how we create dilemmas for Russia and Iran. And I'll just point to a piece of legislation that came out of the House. I believe it was written by Mr. Trone, sponsored in a bipartisan way by Mr. Scott. Mr. Schneider, I think, was a co-sponsor of this amendment for the NDAA that would actually make it easier for the administration to take weapons that were captured from Iran on the way to the Houthis and then use presidential drawdown authority to send them to our partners in Ukraine to fire back at Russians. And I think those are the types of things we need to be thinking about that this Congress could be helping to do. Unfortunately, that amendment did not make it past Rules Committee here in the House. It may be under consideration in the Senate version of the NDAA, but I would strongly encourage those types of means as a way to think creatively about how we can impose real dilemmas on this axis.
Thank you for your responses, and with that, I yield back.